Let's begin with events in Gaza, where some early optimism about a United Nations brokered ceasefire is being tempered by the reality of renewed fighting. Now, this is the scene in Gaza at the moment. There has been plumes of billowing black smoke on the horizon for the last 4 or 5 hours. It seems a little bit calm at the moment, but don't be deceived by that picture of calm at the moment. Israeli soldiers and Palestinian fighters have resumed firing at each other just a few hours ago into what's supposed to be a 72-hour truce. The Israeli media are reporting that the ceasefire is now effectively over. At least 40 people have been killed by Israeli shelling in Rafah, and the Israeli government says the incident at the Karim Shalom crossing led to soldiers resuming their firing. Now, we do have correspondents who've seen evidence of some of the devastation caused by weeks of fighting. This is a scene in Shuja'iyya. More bodies are being found as people try to return home. The UN deal does allow Israel to continue operations that include destroying those tunnels, as we mentioned, in areas that are occupied. Hamas has told Al Jazeera if Israel continues its military activity, it has the right to defend itself. For many in Gaza, the talk of a 72-hour truce brought people out onto the streets to buy food and other essentials. The opportunity now appears to be under threat. Now, Imtiaz is in Shuja'iyya in eastern Gaza. A very difficult situation for people there, Imtiaz, who had gone in the hope of recovering belongings, finding relatives even, or even recovering the dead. What happened in the last, hour, 2 hours?
Well, Sale, what I can tell you is just a few seconds ago, I heard a large bang in the distance right over there. I don't know what caused it. We don't know what's behind it, but it really just lends to the general sense of unease we're seeing here on the streets of Shuja'iyya. And it's more than just unease, it's utter chaos and indeed anguish. I'm just going to have my cameraman turn the camera to show what I can see. We've talked a lot, Sahel, over the past few days about the humanitarian crisis here in Gaza. This is the face of that crisis. These are the faces of the people caught up in this conflict. These are residents of Shuja'iyya, which has seen perhaps some of the worst fighting since this conflict began 25 days ago. These people came here this morning, a few hours ago, because of this ceasefire, to try to retrieve whatever they had left, in the hopes some had to even return to their homes. But now here we are, just a few hours later, and we're seeing a mass exodus of people. These are IDPs. These are internally displaced people. These are people who can no longer stay in their homes. Most of their homes are rubble. They had a few hours to go back to salvage whatever they could, whatever few belongings they had left. But now here they are, even though they were told that it would be a 72-hour ceasefire just a few hours later, and they're all leaving in their thousands.
Of course, Imtiaz, over the last few hours, we have heard over in the skies drones, possibly aerial bombardment. What have you been hearing on that front? Because that plays significantly to whether this ceasefire is actually in place or not.
Well, yes, as well as what we believe are either airstrikes or drone strikes. We've also heard the sound of munitions fire, small arms fire. And it really just lends to that general sense of unease and insecurity here on the street. And it's why so many thousands of people are leaving here. They don't want to get caught up in the violence which has gripped so many parts of the Gaza Strip. They don't want to lose their lives like the more than 1,400 people who already have. They don't want to be injured, some critically, like the more than 8,000 people who already have. And that's why they're fleeing. Now, many of these people are going to try to go back to the schools they were sheltering, the UN schools they were sheltering in. But as we know, over the past week or so, 2 of those schools were targeted by Israeli shelling, killing well over 24 people. So many of these people are left with a very difficult dilemma. Either they stay in Shuja'iyya, which has seen so much violence and indeed so much destruction, or they leave. And for the thousands of people who are behind me, they're choosing to leave.
Well, for the moment, Imtiaz, we'll leave you there, and we'll continue to follow the coverage now with our other correspondents in the area. Charles Stratford is in Gaza City and joins me on the line, or he should join me on the line shortly. I think we've lost Charles for the moment. but these are the scenes from Gaza at the moment. It seems like there is calm, certainly with the images we're showing you right now, but over the last 3 to 4 hours, we've seen large plumes of black smoke hitting certain parts of the Gaza Strip.